How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. And if there's a thing that really doesn't strike me as a truly exciting activity to include in video games, it's fishing, right? You don't think about fishing in those terms. Sure, fishing can happen in pretty much all the Zelda games since Link to the Past, and fishing happens in, say, Okami. Sega made probably the best arcade fishing game of all time with Sega Bass Fishing, but we don't really think about fishing. And fishing video games have been decidedly loved by a very niche audience. Today's game is a prime example of that. It's an NES game, and it's from 1989, and it's the first game in the US released in this series, but it's the second game in the franchise. It's from Hot B. And again, it is probably the first game I think of when I think of fishing video games, right? Today, we're going to take a quick look at the black bass. Now, the black bass, or the Black Bass USA, if you are just reading strictly off the title screen, or, referring to it in terms of Japanese releases, is basically this game. It puts you in the role of an unnamed fisherman. You name the fisherman, but still. And the object of the game is to advance in a series of tournaments at 4 different lakes. And yeah, there are bass in those lakes. And the object is to catch as many bass with the highest average weight. And that sounds simple enough, right? But there are also several other different types of fish that inhabit the lake. And while you can catch those fish don't add to your score at the end of the game, at the end of the day. Because each tournament basically takes place from sunrise to sunset. And yeah, it's a matter of catching fish. You select your lure, pick your spot where you want to cast your lure out, your line out, and then you kind of play it by ear. You move your lure around and wait for the shadow of a fish to pop up. Once that fish grabs your lure, then you start fighting. Now I will say this: the sound effects for reeling in your line and the sound effects when your line's about to break are probably 2 of the most grating sounds I've heard in a video game that happen in rapid succession. But yeah, this game is definitely a test of patience, and is definitely, a test of will, much like apparently competitive fishing is in real life. You gotta fight a fish. You gotta fight time, you gotta fight impatience. And this game simulates all of those very well. Personally, the pacing on this game is pretty slow. I'm not a big fisherman myself, and I prefer something more arcadey like Sega Bass Fishing. But ain't nothing wrong with this game. It's a pretty solid video game. It's a pretty well done game. And yeah, I'm a bit of a fan. I'm not good at it at all, but I'm a bit of a fan. It's, you know, it's a decent game. And it's something that if you're into fishing, if you like fishing, if you watch competitive fishing shows, which is really a thing, despite what a lot of people believe, it's a thing. And it's kind of exciting watching them dudes, watching their reaction to catching these big fish. If you're a fan of game fishing at all, though, Black Bass might be right up your alley. Now, if you want a copy of the Black Bass is a very inexpensive video game. You could probably get a copy for... you can get a lot, like there are a lot of copies out in the wild for $5 and under. Complete copies are about $20 here, $30 there. You shouldn't have to pay a lot of money for the Black Bass. I don't know about any of the sequels or the spin-off title, the Blue Marlin or anything like that, but I do know that this game is pretty inexpensive, and for what it does, it's a pretty solid game. The only issue I have is that incredibly long password. Password saving when the password is over 10 characters, kind of nuts. But it's a solid game. If you like fishing, go and get you a copy of the Black Bass. It'll do you good. It won't hurt. This has been the 8-Bit Animal, and I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yeah, we were picking out video games based on cover art, and we were down bad.